So, dividing real numbers, obviously you know we rarely use this symbol anymore, but for sake of shorthand, I throw it in there. Division is two different things. It is separating into groups.
Multiplication's greatest weakness.
So like 28 divided into 4 groups, okay, and it is also multiplying by the divisor's reciprocal. And depending upon how your mind works, either one of these might speak to you. 28 times the reciprocal of 4 is 1/4. After you've reduced by a factor of 4, you end up with your answer. The thing that's cool about reminding yourself of that is it's really useful when we're reducing things, when we're dividing things. It just can be really, really helpful. Now, a couple of really quick rules. So this is what division is. Here's the how, and that's with respect to positive and negative numbers. So if the dividend and the divisor are both the same sign, then the quotient is going to be a positive number. So positive by positive is positive, negative by negative is positive. If they have different signs, the quotient will be negative. And it doesn't matter which one is positive, which one is negative here. Okay? So those are two key pieces of information that we're gonna look at. Just to practice this positive negative business, I just want to really quick show you a couple things. So I don't like those. All right. So this is example 1. And here's letter A, because I have a few of them. Negative 21 over 3 literally means negative 21 divided by 3. So different signs, right? Negative, positive. The result will be a negative for that reason. Okay? I know it's elementary, but bears repeating. Negative 7, as a matter of fact. Anybody not sure why it's negative? Of course, your calculators will tell you that too, but the second thing, what if it looks like this? They throw this at you. This parentheses really means nothing. It's a negative 1. So don't let this make you think the answer is 0. I get that sometimes. Or I'll get 18, I'll get a number that should be 1 and I'll get that number again, 18 by 18. I don't know. Not sure why. 0 divided into 8 groups. Yep. 0 divided into 8 groups is 0. But, and this is a big but, you cannot take something and divide it into 0 groups unless you have a magic wand, a cape, and a hat. Okay? You cannot divide something into 0 groups without making it disappear. Okay? So if you ever see a divisor that is a 0, the answer is no solution, undefined, or sometimes you'll see people just do that. No answer. No answer. No answer. Here's the last one, and I'm going to squeeze it on this same page before I flip. Last one I want to show you guys is this over this.
The negative didn't matter. You would end up with anything else.
Well, it's still going to be negative because one of them is negative. Now, I'm not asking you to take out your calculator,
Negative 160.
but you can reduce this. Now, notice here's where the thing is right now. And in the answer, I just floated it out here. That's because the result of this in normal, like decimal division, I'm not sure if this calculator will do it. 4 divided by negative 64. Let's see if it'll do it. Nope. This calculator doesn't like to do that. But if you do it in your calculator, you'll probably get something, yeah. So you're 4 divided by 64. That looks like that, only negative. Okay, if your calculator has an easy way to do negatives and positives, you'll get that, but you'll get a negative. In other words, the quotient of this is negative. So where you float that negative is not relevant in the quotient. Here, what they were trying to tell you is 4 divided by negative 64, which we just reduced. Okay, so whether you put this here or here, you are recognizing that one of these two things is a negative. I know that can be a little bit confusing. Let's go on to example 2. And example 2 has us doing some division of whole numbers and messing around with stuff like that. So let's do the first one. 16 divided by a negative 1/4. The quotient is going to be negative or positive? Okay, it's negative. Do you recall how to divide by a fraction? What must you do instead? Multiply by the reciprocal, right? And that's why that first rule was multiply by the reciprocal. So you're going to end up with a negative 64. Don't be fooled into thinking that you cross cancel here by a factor of 4 and end up with a 4. If you take 16 whole pies and cut them into quarters, you will have 64 slices of the pie. Not going to do that though. This is where people think that this is scary too. If I write something like this, what that's saying is 9 divided by 1/7. Negative. So multiplying by the reciprocal, just like we did here, is going to result in a negative 63, okay? Do not forget, dividing by a fraction is a no-no. You can't do it in traditional ways. Instead, you multiply by the reciprocal. This is obviously a 5th grade thing, but it's so easy to forget. Trust me, I'm excellent at forgetting. Just because this is all numbers doesn't make jumping into letters like suddenly a huge leap. It's not hard at all. You're going to find that maybe this is a 48A divided into negative 8 groups. So 48A into negative 8 groups. You can either do it like this, or you can look at it this way. And what I like about this is it forces you to recognize that the A is still going to be present. The A is still going to be present. Just because we reduced by a factor of 8, all that means is it's now 6 times A over 1 times negative 1. Your result would be negative 6A. If you did it this way here, you would find that this makes it that, and in the end you still have the same answer. Either way you have the same answer. Something like this. I have 2 more of these that I want to share with you. Negative 6 multiplied by x over 6. Well, you're thinking this is a division section. Yes, but in the end, we're kind of going to be doing some techniques that you've learned. Reduce your 6's. Your result should be what? Negative x is right. Here's one that's the same thing, only just a skosh more difficult. It might be written like this. That's a z. All that is saying is 30 over 1 times z over 15. What can we do here? Cross, beautiful. The result is a negative 2z. 15 goes into 30 twice. That was a negative, so it stays a negative here. Negative 2z is your answer. Don't let a bounty of letters scare you, like this one. This one's kind of a funny one. Negative 4, 1, 6, x, y, z over negative 4. How can you solve that one? Real quick, like. Go ahead. Yeah. You will come up with a positive answer, and your x, y, z still stays there. Or you can do it negative 416 multiplied by negative 1. Whoops, I forgot my x, y, z. Negative 1, 4, and this into this is going to give me that 104. Okay? Sometimes, and this is example 4, you're faced with a position where the number actually disappears. Oh, that's like this one. Actually, I should have just waited. This one here, I'll do another one just to be sure. I'll give you this one. 2 times y over negative 2. Those 2's disappear, and you end up with the result of a negative y. Okay? The quotient of this is negative, so when you multiply it out, it's a negative. There are 4 red tips there on page 84 that explain division with a 0. You can't divide something by 0 because there's no way to make it disappear. They explain it better there. I like my magic wand trick. I would like to go over 2 items that are not part of your homework, but they're really just like your homework, and then I'll give you the rest of this time to work. So this is page 85, and I'm going to do number 31 and 33 with you. If you look at what the directions are, please look at it with me right over here. Right here. Evaluate each expression. If A is negative 3, B is negative 1, C is 2, D is 6. Okay, so that means we're going to be replacing these variables with numbers based on what they told us. A, B, C, I need all those numbers. A, negative 3, B, negative 1, C, 2, and D, 6. Be very careful about what you plug in. I'm replacing the A with a negative 3. Minus. The 3 stays, and the B is a negative 1. Okay? That's the numerator. B times C times D. Negative 1 times 2 times 6. The top is where people keep making their mistakes. Negative 3. And what's negative 3 times negative 1? Very good. My numerator is a 0. I could quit right here because 0 divided into whatever number of groups this is, negative 12, is still going to be a 0. If you get a 0 in your numerator, that's fine. I can take nothing and divide it into 12 groups. I still have nothing. Kind of like my wallet. 33 is the last one. the product of the sum of C and A and the difference of C and A divided by the sum of B and D. So, let's build this thing. C plus A. 2 plus a negative 3. And you might not need this much space to do it, but in case you do. C minus A is 2 minus a negative 3. That is the place where traditionally their mistakes are made. B plus D. Negative 1 plus 6. We good so far? So the numerator here is negative 1 multiplied by 2 minus a negative 3, so 2 plus 3, which is 5. And the denominator is a 5. Do you guys see how I've taken this and translated it? Taken this and translated it, and that. The end result is negative 5 divided by 5. Two different signs means your answer is going to be a negative.